Hi folks, and welcome back to my channel. Thanks very much for giving this video a watch, and if you haven't seen the first 4 parts already, you may want to go back and check those out first before you watch this one, but it's entirely up to you. You can watch this one, I'll leave that choice to you. What I thought I'd kick off with first today is a recap of where we've got so far with the different parts that I've shown you. So we're going to kick off with the introduction right up to the drum break that I'm going to show you today. So let's go back to the introduction. Here we go. And so that's where we got to. So it's that drum break that I'm going to show you today, and we're going to finish off just by showing you variations of the chorus that I showed you last week, with the addition of some bass analog synth that can be put in there as well. So this, you notice I'm using these favourite buttons here to select the tracks now. It makes it a little bit easier for me. So this is going to be on number 6 here. I've got the drum break. So it's using exactly the same drum kit as before, the TR909 Kit1. The tempo is exactly the same, 60 beats per minute. So what I suggest you do, just to keep the settings that you've had before, is simply go to save what you've done from the previous memory slot, and just save it onto the next available one, and then we're just going to adapt these drums. So all you want really showing at the moment is the drum light wants to be lit up. All the other tracks, you don't need them. So as long as the drum light is lit up by itself, that's all you're going to hear. So first of all, what I suggest you do is go into Shift and erase the pattern that's already there. Okay, so just double check we've got no pattern there. It's a 2-bar pattern that we've got for this drum break, and the drum kit is very similar on both 16 notes of each track. Not track, what measure. Measure is the word. This terminology, I tell you, it can get rather confusing. So just to recap, we've got a 32 note sequence here, and we're just using a 1-bar or a 1-measure pattern. So it's just 32 notes, but each is made up of 16 that you can see, or 16 that are available for you to play around with. So just to recap again, if you hold the Shift key down, when the first light is flashing here, number 1, we're on the first 16 notes, and when we light up number 2, make number 2 flash, we're on the second 16 notes. So make sure number 1 is flashing to begin with, and then we can start putting in the drums for this drum break, starting on the first 16 notes. So the drums that we're using a bass drum. So you might just want to play around with the level a little bit, not too loud. And that wants to go on 1, 5, 9, 13, on the first 16 notes and 1, 5, 9, 13 on the second 16 notes. Then we've got snare drum 2. So again, just play around with the level a little bit to get it how you want. Press the shift key, go back to the number 1, the first 16 notes. So snare drum 2 wants to go on positions 1 and 2, 7 and 8, 13 and 14, and exactly the same on the second 16 notes, 1, 2, 7, 8, 13 and 14. So quick listen to what we've got so far. So it almost sounds like a military sort of, quite a military sounding beat there. So the next one we want is this partial hi-hat, or PHH, and we want that to go on positions 3 and 4 in the first 16 notes, and 11 and 12, and then in the second 16 exactly the same, 3, 4, 11, 12. Have a listen. Okay, so the next drum we want is snare drum 3. So go back to the first 16, and snare drum 3 is going to go on, let's select it first of all, so select snare drum 3. Again, just tweak the level a little bit if you want to. It's going to go on 3, 5, 9, 11 and 15, and exactly the same in the second 16 notes, 3, 5, 9, 11 and 15. Have a listen. So it's all coming together now. So back to the first 16 notes. We want percussion 2. Sorry, I always go back to the cowbell. You probably noticed that in some of my other videos. Percussion 2. This sort of tambourine type sound. Right, want to go on positions 5 and 13, and 5 and 13 in the second 16 as well. And we've got then a hand clap. So go back to the first 16. Hand clap goes on positions 3, 5, 6, 11, 13. Now this is where there's a slight variation in the second 16. So select the second 16, and we're going to go on positions 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 11 and 13. Have a listen. So that's what I came up with for that. And to finish it off, while we're still in the second 16 notes, we want this backward cymbal sound. It's actually on CYM2. Love that backward cymbal sound. And that wants to go on position 1 of the second 16. So we're in the second 16 now. So select the note, or select the drum sound, press position 1, and that completes the drum break. Okay. So when you've done the drum break, in my version of the my cover version, I go back to the second pattern that I showed you, which is this bridge between which started off as the bridge between the introduction and the first verse. So after the drum beat, we're going to select that pattern again. So it's the pattern with the guitar that sort of sounds. That guitar sound. So let's see if I can do it for you. So we'll go straight from the drum break back to the pattern with the guitar sound. then it would go back into the verse again. The next verse would go, and then we'd go back into the chorus. But what I did, and I think in the original version of the song, there is a slight variation when you hear the chorus for the second time. You've got quite a nice sort of bass synth sound going on there, something like this. And then that goes back to that bridge again. And so on. So I just want to show you how to adapt that chorus, so you don't need to do a great deal with this because you've already done the majority of the work in the last lesson that I gave you. So all we've got to do really is add that bass analog synth sound in. So let's just select the pattern. So this is the pattern. So without that bass synth, it sounds like this, which is exactly the same as you had in that previous lesson that I gave you. So the analog synth sound, it goes at the beginning of each 16 notes. So it doesn't sort of play for the whole lot. Well, actually it does, I suppose, doesn't it? So what you could do, you could use the keyhole feature to bring that down. So just in case you haven't already got it selected, the voice that I'm using for this is the ResoSaw Bs1. Again, I'll write this down in the notes below so you can refer back to it. We're shifted down 1 octave, and the notes that I'm playing, it's these notes here. So it starts on an F, down to an E, sorry, E minor, E flat rather, back to the G, down to the B flat. So that's the first part of it. I've still got mine set up into 2 parts. I know I showed you how to do it into 1 part last week, but mine's still set up into 2. So that's the first one. So it goes from F down to E flat to G, down to B flat, and then the next the next measure, or the next part of it, goes from down to, so instead of the last note, instead of being a B flat, is a B natural. So that sounds something like this. Just turn the other notes, other voices off. So I won't show you the whole thing, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete that voice from there. So the bass voice is gone now. So again, we can make sure we're on the first 16 notes. So using the step recorder, I think, was probably the easiest way to do this. So press step recorder, press the note, and then use the keyhole to take it to the end, as I've shown you before. That's the E minor, then to the G, and then down to the B natural. So this is the second measure, but remember. So let's have a listen. So bring in the other instruments. So remember that the first part of it, the first 4 measures, or the first four lots of 16. The last one is a B flat, and the second lot of 16, it's a B natural. I'll write it in the notes, might make it a bit more easier to understand. So that more or less completes it, because those are all the patterns that I used for my version of this cover, this backing track that I did. In the final version of it, I did add some extra synth sounds as well, so I'll just show you roughly what I did. I've got these. You could use the JD-Xi, but the only way that if you wanted to play it live or play it along as the JD-Xi is playing, you'll need another keyboard with some voices that sound like choral type voices. Just try and give you a little demo of it to start with. So it's this type of voice is what we're looking for, and let's see if we can do it. Okay, so let's go back to the introduction. Referring back to my notes, making sure I get the right bit. Yeah, here we go. So just a bit too much delay on there. So the chords that I'm playing are the exact same chords that I showed you to start with for the Digital Synth 1, the D50 Stack 1. So all of the chords that I'm using are just exact copies of those chords, but instead of being played for the whole measure, they're just stabs at the beginning of each section. So it goes something like this. Get this sort of general idea of what I'm doing there, and you can do that throughout the whole song if you wanted to. You don't have to do it, but it's what I did in my version. So that completes this this tutorial. What I will do probably next week is do one more, and I'm going to show you, or if you're interested that is, how I recorded this on my multi-track recorder. So we'll have a breakdown of all the different tracks. Show you how I put it all together on the multi-track recorder. Might be interesting for anybody that's got a Zoom R8 recorder. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and thanks again for all the new subscribers too. It's very much appreciated, and if you like what I'm doing, maybe you consider subscribing to my channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. Anyway, take care, thanks a lot, and see you soon. Bye for now.